2 also, didn't it?
Yes.
And that won't get you to a 0.169 lorazepam level in the femoral vein, will it?
I think we may have discussed this earlier. I'm not sure what concentration you would get to based on those injections.
You've read Schaefer's report, haven't you?
Yes.
And Schaefer describes how those 2 injections, if Dr. Murray were telling the truth, would leave you at a 0.02 at time of autopsy. Isn't that what it says?
Well, I don't recall what it says about that.
Okay. You also stated that your finding number 2, the propofol was administered in a non-hospital setting without any appropriate medical indication. Was that a conclusion of yours?
Yes.
Do you consider insomnia what they refractory chronic primary insomnia? So your opinion, you can't treat that with propofol?
Jackson's not a sleep expert.
Overruled.
I believe that in general it is not appropriate to treat insomnia with propofol. Now, whether there are specific kinds of insomnia, such as refractory primary insomnia, that would need to be treated with propofol, I don't know.
Did you make a determination as a result of your investigation, not only your autopsy, but your other investigation? I think there was a review of records. There was. Did you make a determination as to whether or not Mr. Jackson had refractory chronic primary insomnia?
No, I believe the only diagnosis mentioned was insomnia.
Does insomnia differ in degrees?
Yes.
Did you determine the degree of insomnia that Mr. Jackson had?
No.
Would you disagree with propofol being used to treat refractory chronic primary insomnia?
I think that would be beyond my area of expertise.
Okay. You entered your third finding. The standard, I'm reading it from your third finding. The standard of care for administering propofol was not met, and then parentheses, see anesthesia consultation. Recommended equipment for patient monitoring, precision dosing, resuscitation was not present. Is that within your expertise to determine?
No, that was the determination of the anesthesiologist, which was one of the basis for my opinion.
Okay, so that third finding is beyond your expertise.
Yes.
Okay. Now the fourth finding. The circumstances do not support self-administration of propofol. And now, for that, did you rely upon an anesthesiology consult?
In part, yes.
What's the other part?
Well, we don't really know what happened when Dr. Murray went to the bathroom, and so we have to think about what's reasonable. To me, it seems like it's reasonable to believe that the doctor had an imperfect control over the dose, and he may have accidentally given too much. The theory that seems less reasonable to me is that Mr. Jackson woke up, and although he was under the influence of sedative medications, managed to give himself another dose, and the new dose circulated through the body enough that he stopped breathing by the time Dr. Murray came back, and that all of this happened within 2 minutes. So to me, that seems like the less reasonable possibility.
Okay, you're talking about two different possibilities, one less reasonable than the other, correct?
Yes.
But both reasonable.
Well, I guess it's a matter of degree, you know.
Okay. Now, in that consult, reasons given why it was probably not self-administered is because of the positioning. One of the reasons was the positioning of the IV line, wasn't it?
Yes.
The IV was inserted in the calf, just above the calf, kind of almost behind the knee, correct?
Objection, misstates testimony.
Overruled, if you're able to tell us.
Where was the IV inserted?
The IV was just below the left knee.
And the IV, how long a line did it have before you got to the Y port?
Well, I'm looking for the measurements that our criminalist made, which I am not finding in this material that I have.
I think if you go to Dr. Salmus's report, page 2.
Oh, yes, okay. So she says that the injection port was 13.5 centimeters from the tip of the catheter. So, in other words, the distance between the part where it goes into the leg and the part where you inject is 13.5 centimeters. That would be on the order of, well, let's see, 2.5 inches per centimeter.
5 or 6?
5 or 6 inches, something
5 or
like
6
that,
inches?
yes.
And so, the furthest, if the IV was stretched the opposite direction, the furthest it could be from the knee would be 5 or 6 inches, correct?
Yes.
Then again, it also might have been towards the patient, too, correct?
That's possible.
Now, is it your opinion that it would be difficult for a person who is laying in bed to touch an area in the area of, to touch a place in the area of their knee?
I think in general it would not be very difficult.
Okay. Now, did Dr. Kalmus, she also stated that someone with medical knowledge or experience would have to have started the IV. Correct?
Yes.
Now, we know from Dr. Murray's statement that he started the IV. Don't we?
Yes.
Now, does she also then after that say anyone could have drawn up and administered the medications after the IV was started?
Yes.
And if the medications were already drawn up, it would have been easy for anybody to insert into that IV and inject the remainder.
In that hypothetical situation, yes.
But if they did inject it to safely do it, they'd have to do it gradually, wouldn't they?
Yes.
But if they just bolus dosed, what I mean, just push it all at once on top of a .169 level of lorazepam, that can stop your heart, can it?
Yes.
If a problem developed while putting in a 25 milligram dose slowly, if it was somebody other than Michael Jackson, that person you would expect to see the problem as it arises, wouldn't you?
You would hope that they would.
I have nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
Flanagan, thank you. Read to correct examination by the people. Mr. Walgren?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Dr. Rogers, I want to ask you about something that had been brought up earlier, and that was that defense counsel had indicated previous to your testimony, that a decedent with their eyes wide open, that was evidence that they had died quickly or instantaneously. Is there any truth to that statement?
No.
People can die slowly and still have eyes wide open?
Yes.
In Dr. Kalmus's report, she also indicates that the oxygen tank that was recovered from the house was in fact empty when she checked it sometime in July. Is that accurate?
It's vague, Your Honor. What is the date in July?
The objection is sustained.
Well, Mr. Flanagan just asked you extensively about Dr. Kalmus's report and her findings. She also indicated the oxygen tank that was recovered was, when analyzed at the coroner's office on July 13th, 2009, that oxygen tank was empty, correct?
Yes.
Now, would you agree that most of the questioning by Mr. Flanagan of you centered on the area of pharmacology and pharmacokinetics and things of that nature?
I'm sorry. Overruled. You may answer it.
Would you agree that most of the questions asked of you by Mr. Flanagan centered on the area of pharmacology and pharmacokinetics and things of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. That's not your area of expertise, is it?
No.
Have you ever published any articles or done any detailed research in the area of pharmacology, pharmacokinetics, and things of that nature?
No.
And what is pharmacology, generally speaking?
Well, it relates to what happens